All right, we got a topic this month that it's just flat out cool. How do you create your dream life or your ideal life? Here's the first thing I would suggest is get the vision of what the outcome you're looking for. Know what an ideal life would look like for you. And the best way I know to do that is something I advise people to do all the time, which is to plan your perfect day. And I believe that I've created this wonderful life that I've created, this wonderful lifestyle, because I saw this perfect day for years. The biggest thing, the first biggest thing, was alarm clocks. I didn't want to have to worry about alarm clocks. I wanted to wake up when I finished sleeping. So I think that's very important for you, if you haven't done it already, is to know, what does a perfect day look like for you? When you really have the ideal life, are you working for some company? Are you working for yourself? You working at home? Are you working in an office? Is your office in the city you're in now, or is it somewhere else? And then I think that the other big part of manifesting this ideal life is knowing what all the components are and keeping the components in the proper balance. And I use the word balance with trepidation, because I don't know that that's necessarily the right word. Maybe the word I'm looking for is two words: proper proportion. Because I think they're not all in perfect balance. Like, I've gone to these workshops where they have you draw a circle, and then you divide your life into areas, and you have your private life, your work life, relationships, different workshops, they have different things. And they talk about getting everything balanced. And I don't think it works that way in the real world. I think you have to be out of balance on some things some of the time. And you have to increase attention in certain areas at certain points and decrease attention in other areas at other points. But let me talk about the components that this is what works for me. Now, you may have one or two that I'm not even thinking of. Or maybe I'm just doing them subconsciously. But I really thought about this month as I was planning the program for you. I came up with 2, 4, 6, 7 different areas that these are all the components or all the bases you need to cover to have the dream life, I think. First one, number 1, spiritual. I don't know how you have a dream life without the spiritual element. Doesn't mean you can't. I don't know how to do it if you can. Now, we can use different labels for that, and I'm not about labels. So if you tell me I don't believe in God, well, it's not my job to convince you or change you or challenge you. I just want to get you to think. In everything we do, that's really my role, just get you to think. But maybe you don't call it God. Maybe you call it universe. Maybe you call it universal order, divine order, the energy of life, the force. Luke used the force, whatever it may be. But whatever it is, I think you have to have that element in your life. So even again, I'm not really concerned about the God label or the universe label or whatever, but I think you have to see that you're part of something much bigger than yourself. And there is that environment around you, created by God or created by the universe, that there's this universal energy that you have to be in alignment with to really be living your ideal life. Second area comes up to me would be family. And maybe let's expand that and just say people, but family and close friends, close acquaintances. I think we all feel very invincible when we're young. We also think everyone else is invincible. But the fact is, when you're in 40s, you start to have people die that usually you don't see so much when you're in your 20s. When you're 50s, there's more. When you're in your 60s, there's more. So we start to understand that this lifetime is finite in that context, in the context of the people who are in our life. And I think we appreciate them more. So we seek them out more, and we realize they're very important to an ideal life. I've got enough money, I could fly anywhere, I can go on vacation anywhere, I could take time off and do anything. But you know what? It wouldn't be fun if I just did all that by myself. So people are a real important part of the equation. A third thing comes to mind for me would be work with meaning. If you spend your whole life just putting in time on the clock so you can punch out and then go do the stuff you love, I don't think it's the ideal life. I think it can approach the ideal life. I think you can do some work that gives you money to do the things that, so you want to be a mountain climber, or you want to be a parachutist, and you want to have this hobby or avocation that takes a lot of money, and so you go and work a certain number of hours a week to get the money that gives you the freedom to do the stuff you want. Okay, I think you approach the perfect life, but I don't think you're really there with the ideal life unless the work has meaning to you. So, fourth area I would talk about, let's call it contribution. Meaning, I do believe in service to others, which may shock some of you or may surprise some of you, because you say, well, God, that Gage guy, he's always talking about the virtue of selfishness and how his own happiness is his highest moral purpose, and I don't think he ever gives anybody or helps anyone. Actually, quite the opposite. I do a lot of work to serve others, to serve other organizations and causes. I do believe that contribution to others brings real value to me and real value to the world. And if the world brings value to the world, it brings value to all of us. So you see the real high-level achievers, they find ways to give back. And they do that out of self-sustenance. They do that out of a way because that brings real value to their life and contributes to having that ideal life. Next area would be physical health. Talk to anybody who's lost their health and they'll tell you it's very hard to have an ideal life without it. And there's some things we can change and there's some things we can't change. And if you're in a wheelchair right now and you're paralyzed from the waist down or the neck down, that may not change in the next however many years. You could have a real debilitating disease and that might change, that might not change. But what we do have to do for the ideal life is we have to deal with the health we were born with. In other words, deal with the genetics we were born with, deal with the physical body we were born with, and we have to do everything we can to get the most out of that. So that would lead me to the next thing, which would be, I guess, the sixth thing, which would be a mental challenge. I think it's very important that we challenge our mind all the time. You know, I ended a relationship which had so much going for it in so many ways and so much love in that relationship, but what it didn't have was the mental challenge. And I just think that's really important. What I would tell you is this, is you have to have some ways in your life right now that give you that mental challenge. And finally, the seventh thing would also be a derivative or an offshoot of that, which is just you have the self-development part of the equation in the process as well. Well, then for me, that's that self-development time first thing in the morning. Maybe for you, it's the last thing at night. Maybe it's a different time of the day you schedule it. But you have to have that. You have to have some kind of a program of self-development. I think it has to be daily self-development because that's where the challenges come from, which is where the overcoming the challenges come from, which is where the satisfaction and the joy and the discipline and the accomplishment and that stuff comes from. So I think it's important you have all those. Now go back to something we mentioned a little earlier, which is this balance thing or proportion thing. There will be times, so when you finally say, okay, I've gotten out of balance and I'm 40 pounds overweight, I need to get the weight issue taken care of. Well, you may put the health equation on a deeper balance or more proportion than you did before. And you have to take that time from some other area of your life. Well, you know what? I think it makes sense to do that sometimes. So those are the things, those are the elements I think are important. I hope we got you thinking about some of them and got those mental juices flowing, thinking about that. So spend some more time on it and work toward it because that's what we're really doing here. That's what life is all about. Thanks. Have a great month, and I'll see you around campus.